There is a federal law that restricts the federal government from creating a gun registry. Now, as you know, there's several states that have registries, Illinois being one of them, and California being another. But it is against the federal law. Now, I would argue it's against the Constitution for anybody to have a registry, but, you know, I'm not a judge. Now, when it comes to the federal government not having a registry, they really kind of do. They just don't call it a registry. So I want to take a moment and kind of talk about first how your gun records are kept and how it's evolved, and now kind of what you can do, because there's ways to avoid it. Even if they say, hey, we're going to record this, there's ways to avoid it, but maybe not, coming up soon. So first of all, the way that, you know, when you go into a gun store and you fill out your background check, as long as you're filling out a paper form, that paper form is staying in that store. It'll remain in that store. And yours will just every time somebody buys a gun, it just gets piled up into this massive pile, typically spread out in boxes of months. Like here's the month of December 2022. Here's the month of January 2023. And they're just boxes of files the gun stores have to keep. The more guns they sell, obviously, the more files they're going to have. Now, if they go out of business, which happens all the time, then the ATF will then acquire all of those files, and then they store them in an ATF facility. And this facility looks a lot like the final scene of the Raiders Lost Ark, just boxes and boxes as far as the eye can see. And that one would argue that's not really a registry. However, as you've probably already seen over the last 5 years, oftentimes you go in to purchase a gun and they hand you a laptop and they say, here, just fill out your information on this laptop. Here's the problem. If the ATF wanted to audit that business, which they do pretty much every year, if not a couple times a year. All of that has to be uploaded into their system. So instead of it being in a box, sitting in that gun store until if and when they go out of business, it's now every time there's an audit, they're uploading that information into their system. Now, they say that they have to do this because of, again, we'll go back to the giant warehouses of boxes kind of everywhere with no real computer system, and they're obviously getting away from that. And they have. For the last half a decade, they've been rapidly moving into a computer-based system, which they don't call a registry, but it is a registry. It is a registry. If they now have all of the records of all the gun stores put into a computer system, that is a registry. I mean, you didn't physically go register your gun, but they did for you, is what they've done. Now, I share this with you because the way to get away from that would be fill out a paper form. Just fill out that paper form. You know, obviously NICS with the FBI will always have that in their system, but all they know is you bought a long gun, a handgun, or other firearm. And that's really all they know. It's all the detail of that firearm is on that application. Now, the problem that we're having is a lot of gun stores are moving away from the paper form, moving to a computer system. There's a good size handful of gun stores around my area that I like to kind of bounce around to and just see what they got new, see what they got old, just check out. I like going to gun stores, who doesn't? But I found one recently that always did a paper application and then moved to computer. Then I went to another one and they moved to a computer. A few of them have always done computers. And honestly, there's not many I know of at this point that do paper applications only. And even the ones that I do, those applications, they have to get from the ATF. And when they run out, they're just like print an application. You know, you could kind of tell it's kind of a pain in the behind. But I believe that's why they're moving to the computer systems, because it's easier just to hand you a laptop and say, let me know when you're done before you press enter. So I make this video to let you know that there is a federal registry. I mean, I've made a lot of videos on that. You have to know that. And so don't fill out the computer form, especially if it's particular firearms that you're worried they're going to ban someday illegally. Because then it's registered. They will clearly know that you have one of those firearms. Now, but the problem is that, you know, everybody's moving to the computer system. So I make this video to say that there may be a day soon where you don't have a choice. You can avoid all this by just filling out the paper form. If the gun store that you go to doesn't have a paper form, and, you know, because I'm actually kind of close with several gun stores around here, I would say, hey, I'm not going to buy any more guns from you if you're not doing the paper form. And just leave it at that. And then go down the road, you know. And again, it may be that there's a day soon where everybody's just forced to do computer forms. But until that day comes, right now, just demand they give you a paper form. And if they can't do that, then go elsewhere. I mean, bring your business elsewhere and just make it plain and clear that that's how you roll. Like that's, you know, you're not going to do the computer form. So, you know, in the end, is there a gun registry in the federal government? Yeah. How can you avoid it? Don't fill out their computer form. That's how you avoid it. And again, in the end, I think it's all going to go there eventually. I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully lawmakers step in and say, hey, you're breaking the law, ATF. So far, I haven't seen anything like that. And again, I'm not a judge, so I don't think anybody really cares what I think. But when it comes to you and me being on the register, don't fill out the computer forms is the best way to do that. Any thoughts or insight on any of that, definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment, and so most people watch this channel, hey, you're not subscribers, click that subscribe button. Greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. Don't ever, ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, love guns.